You've been trying to erase the past, scrubbing it from memory like it was a dirty stain on an otherwise clean slate, pretending it was a glitch in your story, a page that didn't belong. But what if I told you it wasn't a mistake? It was a message, and you were meant to read it in scars. Not all pain is punishment. Sometimes it's prophecy. You see, some pages weren't meant to be rewritten. They were carved in stone, so you'd never forget what built you. Those nights you couldn't sleep. They weren't just sleepless. They were sacred. The silence, it wasn't emptiness. It was instruction. You thought the world was breaking you, but it was breaking through to you. And every time you cursed your past, you were cursing the very furnace that forged your edge. Let that sink in, because the truth doesn't come dressed in comfort. It arrives cold, cuts deep, and it never knocks. The past didn't happen to you. It happened for you, not to ruin your life, but to reveal the truth about who you were never meant to be and who you were always becoming. So stop hiding it, stop wishing it away, look it in the eye, because that darkness, it spoke. Now the question is, are you finally ready to hear it? You were told to regret it, to tuck your past behind closed doors and smile like none of it ever happened, as if regret somehow made you righteous, as if drowning in guilt meant you had a soul. But let's call it what it really is. Regret is rust. It doesn't cleanse, it corrodes. They sold you guilt like perfume, sweet in the bottle, but suffocating once it settles on your skin. They wanted you to wear it, to reek of remorse, so you'd never notice the power hiding beneath your scars. But here's the truth. Regret is a trap built by cowards who couldn't carry their own past. So they handed you the weight of yours and smiled when it broke your back. You think looking back and weeping makes you whole? No, it makes you predictable, easy to tame, easy to blame. You survived the fire, but they want you ashamed of the burn marks. Why? Because those marks, they scare them. They're proof that you endured, proof that you're not who you used to be. And that terrifies those still pretending. So here's the shift. Don't wear your past like a wound. Wear it like war paint. Don't flinch when they mention it. Let them choke on the silence you offer in return, because you're not here to beg for mercy. You're here to remind them you walked through hell and came back painted in purpose. Regret? No, you don't owe your pain an apology. You think you were broken because it hurt, because it left marks, because you cried behind closed doors and no one ever came? No, you weren't broken. You were being engineered. Every scar, every fracture in your soul was part of the blueprint, not a malfunction. They taught you to hide your wounds like shameful secrets. But what they missed is that those wounds weren't setbacks. They were schematics, lines carved into you, not to destroy you, but to design you. Every betrayal, blueprint. Every fall, a recalibration. Every night you thought would end you was actually building you for the day you'd rise without explanation. Every scar is a signature of battles survived, not avoided. They weren't warnings to stop, they were confirmations to continue. Because real strength doesn't bloom in comfort. It's forged in chaos, under pressure, in silence, alone. And while they laughed at your detours, what they didn't know is that you were mapping your own damn road. Let that sink in. Like, you didn't lose your way. You lost the illusion of who you thought you were supposed to be. And that's how you found the real you. The version that doesn't flinch anymore. The version that doesn't beg for peace because it became the storm. So no, your scars aren't mistakes. They're markers, blueprints, proof that pain wasn't the end of your story. It was the ink that wrote it. So you've traced the blueprints. Now look at the hands that carved them, the ones who lied, the ones who left, the ones who smiled while they set the fire. They weren't accidents, they were revelations in human form, unwanted messengers wrapped in sweet words and sharpened knives. They didn't come to love you, they came to teach you, not in the way you wanted, but in the way you needed. They didn't teach you warmth, they taught you limits, boundaries you never knew you needed. Until they danced across them like a joke. You thanked the storm, not for the flood, but for revealing the cracks, the parts of you that were fragile, naive, exposed. Their betrayal wasn't just a breaking, it was a briefing on what to never tolerate again, on what masks look like when they slip, on how manipulation dresses like love, but leaves behind rot. And maybe it left you bitter, cold, detached, good. That cold saved your life. Because sometimes fire doesn't forge you, ice does. The ones who hurt you, they don't deserve forgiveness, but they do deserve credit. They turned your heart into a fortress. And no, that wasn't kindness, but it was a contribution. So don't hate the lesson. Learn it. Frame it. Because even devils play their role in your ascension. Even poison reveals what you're no longer willing to swallow. You survived them. Now outgrow them. Let them stay as chapters. You didn't fall apart. You unraveled thread by thread until nothing was left but the raw truth of who you were. And yes, it hurt, like skin tearing from bone, like silence screaming louder than thunder. But that wasn't the end. That was the beginning. You weren't breaking, you were being peeled back, stripped of illusion, layer by layer, until all that remained was your core. Rock bottom, it wasn't a coffin, it was a cradle, where the old you died, so something unshakable could be born. Those nights where you stared at the ceiling, heart racing, mind howling, those weren't curses, they were mirrors, showing you everything you didn't want to see, and messages, whispering truths you weren't ready to hear. But you listened. Eventually, you listened. You didn't need saving, you needed stripping. From the lies you wore like armor, from the dreams that belonged to someone else, from the comfort that kept you small. Pain didn't punish you, it awakened you. It dragged you, bloody and bitter, to the one place you were too scared to go, inside yourself. And in that darkness, you found something brighter than any fake light. They sold you. So, no, your breakdown wasn't a mistake. It was a message written in cracked voices and clenched fists. A message that said, you're not done, you're just beginning. They wanted you to wear the label, victim, fragile, shattered, helpless, a leftover of the storm. But here's the truth. You're not made of what they did. You're made of what you did after the silence, after the betrayal, after the fall. You didn't just survive it, you used it. You sharpened it. You turned every cut into a contour, every scar into structure. You walked out of the wreckage, not crawling, not crying, but evolved. You didn't just walk away, you emerged. like steel forged from fire, like shadows that learned how to move in daylight. You are not their mess. You are the aftermath, the ghost of who they tried to bury, still walking, still rising, still silent, but louder than any scream they ever forced down your throat. You weren't rebuilt, you were recoded. Different rules now, different fire, same soul, but untouchable. They look at you and still see the old version, but you know what was burned away. You know what stood up when no one clapped. You know who kept walking when the road disappeared. You're not a victim, you're the outcome. And outcomes don't apologize. They dominate. They remind the world this is what happens when pain meets purpose. So the next time someone asks you what happened, don't tell them your story. Be it. You've carried the past like a wound, but it was never meant to bleed forever. It was meant to speak. You don't erase the past, you underline it. Every chapter mattered, even the ones written in rage, even the ones stained with silence, especially those. They were the prologue, the plot. See, the story doesn't end in pain. It begins with meaning. You thought healing meant silence, disappearing, becoming smaller so the world wouldn't feel uncomfortable. No, you weren't meant to heal quietly. You were meant to rise loudly. Not as a victim, but as a verdict. They wrote you off. You rewrote the rules. They thought the past would break you, but it built you, brick by brick, bruise by bruise. Now you're standing on that wreckage, building something bigger, not in spite of the past, but because of it. You don't bury what happened, you burn it into your vision. Tattoo it onto your purpose and wear it like armor. So the next time your past haunts you, don't run, don't flinch, don't fold. Look it in the eye and read what it wrote. Then pick up the pen and write something the world's not ready for. Because the past wasn't a mistake, it was a message. And now you're the messenger.